both from town side and from the school department. And I would be remiss as chair of this committee if I didn't give my perspective, and that's all it is, my perspective on the process. And I take particular pride in what I do, and it's been an honor to be on the school committee for as long as I have. And it is really an honor to be your chair. And as your chair, I thought it was very, very important, given the state of affairs with transportation in town, to establish a subcommittee within the school department to act as advisory and to reach out for associate members in the community, ultimately to study our transportation organization and to do an apples to apples or oranges to oranges comparison as to what's out there in terms of privatization. We need to know that we are running an efficient operation, and we need to know that it is in the best interest not only of the student safety and student transportation, but also the taxpayer. In order to do that, there has been absolutely, in my mind, no doubt that the bids were going to go forward. Under the law, and we've got legal clarification on this, under the law it is the responsibility of the school committee to establish bids and establish and control and operate a transportation system. It is certainly within the role of the town, because it is a capital item, to be involved in the purchase or lease of these vehicles. So in this particular case, it was a matter of working together to a common end. That is why I told my chair of the transportation subcommittee to invite those folks, and they could rotate. We had people from the finance committee, they weren't the same people all the time, to invite people from the finance committee, board of selectmen, people from the community that were interested, and they did, and we got input. And there was no doubt at all that this was going to go out to bid. This was no surprise. This was discussed. I came to several of the subcommittee meetings. It was openly discussed. As a matter of fact, I think it was even discussed when you were interviewed for the position. So I think that to put some clarity on it, the only way that we can do a fair comparison is to put it out to bid. Unfortunately, there has been a degree of miscommunication or deception, whichever you prefer. At the conclusion of the last subcommittee meeting that met as a whole, and there was the chairman announced that there would be a hiatus because we wanted our transportation manager to get his feet wet, that we would look at it, and then he would help us to develop the specs going out to bid, and then we would see where it would lead in the future. We never said we weren't going to reconvene the entire subcommittee, but just that we were going to take a break. Unfortunately, it's taken on a life of its own. And several days after that last subcommittee meeting, a recommendation was made to the by the Board of Selectmen, this particular member of the Board of Selectmen, and I welcome you, Mr. Cruz, to our meeting, to order the town administrator to do a bid or a backwards bid or reverse bid on buses. That's certainly within their purview. And I don't know exactly how that bid was done. I don't know exactly how it was written up, because the school department was never privy to it. It was privy to it. However, I want to make sure that everyone here knows that when we decided to put our bid package together, that big bid package was delivered upstairs to the town administrator several weeks before the actual package went out. So there's been a suggestion that this is something that was done underhanded, that this was done sneakily, that this was done without anybody knowing about it, is simply, in my opinion, a misstatement. It was just a misstatement, because there has been no doubt from the get-go exactly what we were going to do as a committee. We cannot assess our current transportation system relative to open it up to, relative to privatization if we don't put this thing out to bid in its entirety. That means the entire operation. Special ed, special runs, special schools, private special ed schools, and the regular ed transportation. There was never any doubt that that was going to go out to bid. If there is, I want someone in the committee correct me. So I just felt that I needed to before we get into the bid process, to clear that up, because certainly the town administrator was within his right to put out a bid for vehicles, either to lease or to purchase, because they're ultimately going to be buying them. I don't have a problem with that. But to indicate that the entire transportation of students for the town of Wareham is not within the sole purview and responsibility by law of the school committee is not true. And to make an insinuation or innuendo that that is the fact the case, that we're acting or operating secretively, is not true. There has been no doubt in my mind as to what our point was. And now it's a matter of getting it done. So, with that being said, if anybody would like to talk specifically about the bid process, we did invite Mr. Andrews at the meeting today to discuss the backwards auction bid because we have gotten very, very little information on that process, very little information. There's been several attempts by our superintendent to meet with Mr. Andrews, and that has been, unfortunately, that has been able to take place, particularly as it refers to the bid. So, if anyone could speak specifically to the bids now, I would like to discuss that because that is the next thing on the agenda. We're kind of hoping to put both the town side bid and the school side bid together. But I can't speak to the town side bid. I can only speak to the school side bid. Mr. Fons?
I still want to comment on some of this stuff if I can, because I was reading. First of all, it's in the media that it's a power struggle. To me, a power struggle is the lights go out at end stock. There's no power struggle here because we're not in a power struggle. The Board of Selectmen made a decision in support of the reverse auction, and that's fine because, as Chairman Sylvia said, the town administrator will have the say on the procurement or whatever of those buses. The troubling thing is one of the media outlets, which is now online, says that the transportation for the bids went out without informing the town administrator and or the Board of Selectmen, which is inaccurate. So it always makes the school look like the bad guys. The town administrator on November 1st had a full package of the school's RFP in his hands on November 1st. That's not reported in the media. On November 1st, he had a full package and was told by our superintendent, this is what we plan on sending out. Take a look at it,
get back to me.
Red pen it, any comments you have, and then it would come back to the committee and then it would go out. And the intent is the town in the reverse auction is only for buses, and the reverse auction is for 25 buses. We have 48. So I want to know where the savings is. We're still going to be responsible for another 23 buses if they bid only the reverse auction covers 25. That's a whole other story. The problem is the town administrator had the package. Whether or not he shared that information with his Board of Selectmen, to me, obviously he did not, because what I'm reading here says the Board of Selectmen had no knowledge, but the town administrator had that package for over 30 days and never got back to the school on that. The goal was for that package to go back to Dr. Rabinovich with any comments from the town administrator saying, I suggest this, and then we could incorporate that. And then the reverse auction came back, whether it's the Transportation Committee or a smaller version of that, was to get the reverse auction and our bid and compile that to some next steps would be.
They've gone out on their own, and I don't mean they, meaning the whole group, but apparently the town administrator did not communicate with the Board of Selectmen And I think that's one of the main problems where we're at today that makes it sound like it's turf wars. I went out on November 8th, Dr.
It was
Rabinovich.
in the Journal on November 8th, that is correct.
The town administrator, we had a meeting, and I guess this is my night to blow. We had a meeting and I suggested that we put the town administrator on the agenda. A concerned citizen sent me an email wanting to know what the next steps were, and I responded to the email. I didn't answer any questions, but I think I responded to the email saying, your questions will be answered December 8th because the town administrator is on the agenda. And if your questions aren't answered, I'd be happy to answer them after the meeting, was my response to the person that sent me the information. It's stunning that here we are December 8th, and a couple of days ago, the town administrator all of a sudden has a conflict. The invitation went out to the town administrator who was CC to the chair of the Board of Selectmen. I would think that transportation is such a hot issue in this town that town administrator would tell his chair of the Board of Selectmen that I'm on the agenda for the school committee on December 8th, I have a conflict. Would you or a member of the Board of Selectmen like to go and see the agenda as to where we are and next steps? That hasn't happened. So again, it makes us look like the bad guys, and I'm sick and tired of it. And that's why I'm making it known that he had this information for almost 40 days and zero communication to us. Thank you.
Anything else to be said on the bid? Mr. Tatro, could you just enlighten those that are not involved as to what the process is and what we're actually bidding out?
We are actually bidding out all student transportation, which includes athletics, special needs, home to school within town, any homeless, any out of district, literally everything that we do is currently in the bid specs to be bid on by any company.
The management of the transportation department is in the bid. The vehicles are in the bid. The maintenance is in the bid. To find someone else from soup to nuts, if we accepted one of the low bids, then we would be out of the transportation business. Now, the confusion is that the bid that went out as a reverse auction also does vehicles and vehicle maintenance. So as a vendor, if I'm out there deciding how to bid, how do I know I have the vehicles, because there are two different bids out there? It is confusing to vendors, and I gave that to the town administrator on the 1st. It went into the Journal on the 8th, 7 days after he had it, and his bid did not go into the Journal until the 15th. I have both dates. So there was no reason for the confusion. And on our standing Monday meeting where we could have met to discuss this, 8 out of 14 of them have been canceled by the town administrator.
You have a standing meeting on Monday.
That is correct.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I feel how the town administrator came up with the figure of 25 buses. Was there any discussion? You have 48 buses, correct?
That's in the number 48 entails any out of district as well.
Yeah.
So 48 entails, even if an outside company is currently providing service, a specialty service, that number includes those as well, to make sure that we cover literally every student that we transport. And
so would it be safe to say that the town administrator's reverse auction of 25 buses is solely for the purpose of transporting our students to our schools? We would be responsible for providing transportation for after-school activities, athletics, and everything with the remaining fleet?
I don't know what his intention is. However, that number 25 is close to what we need to run our in-town regular education home-to-school units.
Did you have any discussion with that?
No, there was no
Can I just ask one
discussion.
clarity question, because I'm a little confused with this, only because